innocence, divinity starts with the heart, and that's the woman's power. And the cycle that we've been living through has cut us off from that. So ladies, especially, men too, is your audience mostly women, or is it women and men?
Both.
Okay. Allowing yourself to be connected to the divine is your nature that we got shut off from. So anything you can use your own creativity, ask the spirit to say, what should I do? What should I do? Should I try this stuff that this lady's suggesting? If you're alone, you can self-pleasure. And instead of just thinking about, kinky things, try thinking about God. Try thinking about angels. I mean, that sounds blasphemous, right? Because that's what we were taught. But the truth is, what we find out, especially through making love with this kind of a mindset, is that all the oneness, the entire ocean of oneness is me. Meaning it's you. Meaning it's everything. That means there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing you can't be open to. In fact, in opening to more and more and leaving the boundaries of fear behind that you created or learned from church and society, that you can expand further into that oneness because it's you. So this is very deep. I'm already going into some very advanced teachings for those of you who haven't reached into the oneness yet. This is where we're all going now.
Where the humanity, the whole humanity, with this change of third dimension to fifth dimension is going, not through the oneness. We are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my only understanding of how this all came to be is that we have been in a cycle. The Mayans say that we run in 26,000, I think, was it something like 26,575 years, something like that, close to that. That's a lot of years, right? And my understanding is we were either in this kind of a pattern going from feminine to masculine, or we're circling upwards, but still in the circling is going from feminine to masculine to feminine to masculine. So we're born into this world of polarity, magnetism. And we've got the female design and the male design, and it magnetizes to each other and shares energy like this. And there's just so much magic to learn about that. That's textbooks of talking about how all the magnetism works.
Yes. Carrie, how can we recognize when we are a sacred priests? Let's talk about sacred priests. And for example, when I went to your temple in Seattle, you did recognize me as a Dakini and as a essential priest. How did you get to that point? What you see on me or in these girls that are asking themselves if they are Dakinis and this type of women?
I got a little distracted while you were talking.
Okay.
Because I realized I started talking about the cycles and I didn't finish what I was trying to say, is that we have moved from an era of going into separation and the masculine dominance, which favors the power of the genitals, which favors the power of survival, which favors individuation, challenge, independence, all those things. So we all moved into that, and it went down, 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 and we got to the point where we almost destroyed the world in the last couple decades. But that was the change, the big change. And after that, after 2012 and the decade following, that we're just finishing up now, we're just going through that portal and beginning to take the heart back, which is the feminine power. We're just beginning, and it's very chaotic. Everything's breaking down around us. this whole thing about, the virus is about the last attempt of the old system to hold on to its power.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's power over the heart, power over women, and keeping that heart power held down. So they tried very hard to do that. And we're just getting through that now. And all this heart power is returning to us. And so we're beginning the journey back into the heart. And it's going to be very long, and it's going to be very beautiful, and it's going to be difficult and challenging. But that's where we are now. And that's why we're returning to sacred sex, because this is a female power where she connects from her heart. All right. So I apologize. Maybe you can.
Yes, I will. I will. Okay.
Okay. So your question then is.
The question is, how can we recognize when we are sacred priestess, and what is a sacred priest?
And priestess.
Priestess. Sorry. So talk me about the sensual or magic sex priestess, and who were the first ones?
Well, that is a big question, and I've never answered it directly like that, but recognizing it in yourself is when you come across this feeling that is completely separate from what society has programmed us to expect sex to be. And it is so glorious and joyful and beautiful and ecstatic that you know it's different, and you know you've tapped into something. At first you think it's out of your control, and then you realize that by focusing on that which is sacred, which is divine, which is inviting the divine to express itself through your body, that you can reach into these places. So you'll be a priestess or priest in, how do you say it, in practice, but you reach these little signposts along the way where the wisdom of the universe and your heart and tell you have reached this place now. For instance, when you start standing up for yourself in the face of men telling you, no, that's not the way it is, or men of the church or something, no, that's not the way it is, you're doing it wrong, Carrie. That's not the way it is. And you go, that's what happened to me at one point. And I knew what I was saying was beautiful. I knew what I was saying was right. I knew it was divine. And I had this man telling me, no. And that day I went up a level, and a man met me later, and he did a little intuitive reading on me. And he said, you just recently entered into the diva level. I'm like, what? And I realized it was because I stood up against men, against the power that men had over me to tell me I was wrong. I said, no, we are finding, this is the most important thing. We're not going to find our power given back to us automatically as women. We must search it out inside ourselves and in groups of women only, to find the powers of our divinity amongst ourselves. Women know, and they can feel it in themselves. And it's a mystery. It's a mystery, but the men can't tell us. They cannot tell us. We have to find it ourselves. So I end up exploring the mystery of life and applying everything to what I know and feel. That's what women need to do. Put the textbooks away. Men, with their science and their math and their proving reality, they are using the intellect. That's what's been being used for however many years we've been going, into the separation mentality. But now we've turned around, and we're being flooded with the love of the divine feminine, and we need to feel it within and bring it out and say what's real as we find it. So I find myself explaining things in very simple terms based on love, based on the heart, not based on the intellect. Using the intellect, integrating the intellect, yes, but that's how we arrive at wisdom. If you guys look around outside in the world, there's no wisdom, very little wisdom. It's all about trying to figure things out rationally without the heart.
Yes.
Right? So what the world is missing is the divine feminine. The women, in order to survive, had to follow the path into the intellect, had to become business owners, had to enter the corporations to make money, to prove themselves, to try to be heard by the sacred masculine, to try to be heard at men's level. But in the process, we had to, a lot of our heart got lost, and we had to say, wait a minute, you know, we just entered, we become men entering the man's world instead of women bringing our power into the man's world.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked, and about men too. So men, when you start including love and care, respect and honor for the feminine, and asking her for guidance, because it's been missing, really wanting to know what that part of you that was left behind holds. Because what we find out in Tantra is that we have equal currents of masculine and feminine energy winding up our spines.
Mm-hmm.
It just matters which we listen to more, masculine or feminine. So if we've been listening to the masculine for 26,500 years or so, you know, what does the feminine bring? And when we bring them both back together, back comes wisdom. We won't have a world that lets people die so rampantly, you know, and be traumatized in terror and fear, and put, you know, survival above love all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
we're all creating this new world that we have coming back. So priests, priestesses of sacred sex, you know, are ones that stand for the communion of genitals with heart, with divinity.
Okay.